We're back. New kitchen project, already efficient. You got dirt on your lens.
No, I don't, dude.
You do, I can see it right there.
Don't worry, you can't even see it. I can't see it.
Yeah, all right. We're back, another project completed. This project happened so quickly, came together so quickly, and there was so much else going on that we really didn't get a chance to capture a lot of the progress. We only really did the kitchen and the mudroom area, all new kitchen, appliances, cabinets, countertops, everything was taken down, not quite to the studs. We did gut areas down to the studs where we needed to in terms of like being able to access electricity and other utilities to move them, but everything else we were able to keep the drywall intact, which is really great because that cuts down on dust and demo and all of that nonsense in the beginning of your project, which is really important because if you're gonna live in your home during the demolition or during the entire length of your project, you might want to consider not taking out everything if you don't need to. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it's easier to just scorched earth, remove all the drywall so you can see everything. It makes our jobs easier, a little bit more efficient. It's not that hard to re-drywall an entire room, but again, when you're living in the home, which this customer lived in this home throughout the entire project, we have to accommodate the customers, and not creating unnecessary dust is important to us. We pulled out all of the flooring, what drywall we needed, the trim, cabinetry, all the appliances came out, and then we started from scratch. One of the important things in this house is it does have radiant floors throughout the entire home. It was really important to us that throughout the demo process, we didn't create any unnecessary damage to that system beneath us in any sort of way that we couldn't repair. So we were able to maintain that system. The floor heat's still running in this kitchen and the mudroom area behind me. One of the cooler things about this kitchen, and we're doing it a lot, we strongly encourage it if the budget is there for it, but we like to do the full height backsplash. We're kind of known for this now. In my opinion, rather than tiling and doing like a tile backsplash, having the continuation of the countertops straight up the wall to me is more aesthetically pleasing. It looks cleaner. I personally think it's easier to keep clean because you have like this nice consistent joint. You're not maintaining that gross grout joint that you have to like re-caulk and clean out. You have to hire the handyman every couple of years to like, you know, come through with a chisel. Countertop goes in. This stone is just as thick, so it goes in after the fact. The one thing you do have to consider if you're gonna do a full height backsplash like this, is when the cabinets go in, they template the cabinetry in order for the countertop to get fabricated and then installed. So you have to wait until your countertop is installed to then template the backsplash. We like to stack people on top of each other schedule-wise to run things as efficiently as possible. So they come to template this, like this countertop goes in, and as soon as these guys can come to template, they're scheduled already. Another thing that's a little extra hurdle is you can't put your hood in. I guess you could, but the kitchen hood and the hood equipment cannot go in until the backsplash is on, especially if you want like a nice clean edge, because the stone goes behind the hood cabinetry, or if you're using like stainless steel hood, you want that stone to run behind it and then that equipment goes on after. So those are just little extra steps where on some projects you can schedule the installation of the appliances one day, everything's done. This requires a second or third visit in some cases from, you know, the trades that are involved to get this aesthetic. I guess if you want to talk about price, it varies. It's a difficult question to answer on whether or not this is cheaper or more cost effective, it's a nicer way of saying it, versus tile. I think the answer would be this is probably more expensive than tile, because normally people are putting in subway tile or something that's cheaper of a, you know, hard material. Like you're starting out with a really cheap material, but you are paying for the labor for all that tile to go in. You are paying a little bit more per square foot of like this raw material, specifically marble, which we'll get into in a second. But I would say in this instance, probably not cheaper, but it really depends on what tile you pick. You could just as easily pick a tile that go on the back here that's crazy expensive. And then you have to pay someone 1, 2, 3 days of installation, depending on how big your area is, and grouting, and then you have to maintain the grout. So it's one of those mental cost savings. So if you need to justify it to yourself or like convince your significant other that like this is worth the money, I would say cleanliness and long-term quality of the product, which is something we're always really concerned with, is what is it gonna look like 5, 10, 15 years later? We end up getting really close with a lot of our clients, and I would be insanely embarrassed if I came back here years later and this line just didn't look good because of the aesthetic, the cleanliness, the long-term durability, and just the way it looks. It doesn't take a lot to convince people this is a good idea. Well, I guess since we're talking about the backsplash, we can talk about the countertop surfaces. When you're picking your countertop surfaces, you really, or any of your hard surfaces throughout your house, whether it's your vanity in your bathroom, the kitchen, mudroom, your laundry room, not all of these surfaces are created equally. This isn't like a end all be all comment. Like, it just seems to be the nicer the stone, when people pick like that super fancy one, it always requires more maintenance or isn't as durable. If you're going with a synthetic product, you have more durability against things like hot pans. But when you're going with something like this marble surface, you have no real protection against extremely hot surfaces. It stains very easily. Wine and coffee are a problem. You have to worry about every cleaning product you use on it. You also have to worry about things like if you were to move something extremely heavy, or say you were to like slide something heavy like a pot or a pan across this surface, you would scratch it. Again, this is a high gloss. A lot of times this surface or a marble surface like this has a little bit more of like a honed finish, so it just kind of hides the scratches a little bit more. But if you're gonna pick a marble surface specifically, you have to be okay with it weathering or patina. The product is gonna age, and that's part of like the cool factor of it, is it will weather with time. To be honest with you, fully transparent, this countertop went in, this countertop went in, and both of them were ripped out, thankfully, by our stone supplier. They're really great to work with. Stone Tech came back, pulled all the countertops back out, brought us new countertops just because of a couple little blemishes that in the stone. Were they caused by the installation or the fabrication process, or were they just naturally a part of the stone? It was much more likely that they were just natural imperfections, but you can't really see it as an imperfection. It's more of just like you're pulling a piece of rock out of the earth that's been squeezed together by like geo forces and hot, crazy temperatures and millions of years, and then all of a sudden we come across it in the ground and we're like, we're gonna chisel this out and put it on our cabinets. And then people's expectations of like how durable these surfaces are just because they're hard are really misaligned. With all that being said, it does look amazing. So if you're okay with that, with everything I just said, this is the countertop for you. It looks amazing. I personally love marble. It's just a little bit more work. And you also have to seal it too. It's a natural stone, so it's porous. Like the holes in it, they're quite, microscopic, but that's what's absorbing the stains from like the coffee or like the wine spilling on top of that. If you don't take care of that right away and it soaks in overnight, wake up the next morning to a nice new accent piece on your countertop. So things to consider when choosing countertops, specifically marble. Pivoting off the marble, we love marble. Hope we got that point across. We also love butcher block. This was kind of a last minute, this was actually a very last minute change. The countertops were pretty much on their way here and we canceled. Actually, I think we still have the piece of countertop in our possession, but this one never went in because butcher block. It was a great opportunity to kind of differentiate between this is the coffee bar area, and it just didn't really make sense to combine these two spaces necessarily. It was more of just kind of a design improvement to put the butcher block in here. So when things like this happen, we just say yes. So what ends up happening in a situation like this is a customer calls us and says, I'm really sorry, I don't want marble over here, I actually want a butcher block countertop, and I know this is gonna affect my schedule. Sometimes they don't realize it's going to affect the schedule, so it's up to us to quickly come together as a team, find out how long this change is going to impact the schedule, or how long it's going to increase the schedule, how it's going to affect other people in the company, and then what does it cost us? Not necessarily just the physical cost of the countertop, but does this require, anything to be changed or moved around or anything else gets modified. Fortunately for us, just was a different countertop, so we called our cabinet shop. Luckily, the cabinet shop we work with, we have an amazing relationship with them, and they were able to turn us around a butcher block countertop, I think in a little over 2 weeks. So it didn't necessarily delay anything, and we got really lucky in that regard, because as soon as this went in, we were already waiting for these upper cabinets to get installed until this countertop went in. Coffee stations is like the new mudroom. Everybody wants a coffee station. And if you know anything about coffee, like Americans used to not drink coffee in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, up until like the 80s, like coffee wasn't really a thing. But now coffee stores, coffee shops are such a large part of our culture that we really are seeing almost every project we do has some sort of coffee feature in their home. It's also, you know, great opportunity if you wanted to put like a beverage center down here. You could also make this a wine and coffee station, make this a little bar. This is really cool. We got white oak up top to match, solid white oak slab butcher block countertop, and then the green below. Again, I love this green. We've been trying to push this color on a customer for quite some time, so finally got it done. So this color, we love it. Sherwin-Williams Rosemary. I don't know what the color code is. I want to say off the top of my head, it's like 7189. Is it? Just go with it. Going back to this cabin, we have the apothecary drawers here. This is also a feature that looks really cool. When you stand over here, you kind of look at it, you're like, wow, these cool little drawers, that's great. But if you don't have a function for these drawers, they do kind of become junk drawers. This customer in particularly is really organized. So all of these drawers have a purpose. You have your, you know, tape and scissors, your Post-it notes, everything has its spot. These drawers aren't for everyone. The reason we did these drawers in here is previously in the previous kitchen, there were a location over here that kind of had like this medicine cabinet style, really cool looking cabinet that had these apothecary style or library style registry drawers. Like back in the day, you'd have like your library cards in here, and this is how you would find books before the internet, Gilmar.
Do you know what that's called?
What?
Is that the Dewey Decimal System?
Dewey Decimal System?
Maybe not, just kidding, don't say that.
Someone just kill us in the comments. Let us know what this is. Somebody's saying this is called the Dewey Decimal System. We're going off that. Someone that remains off camera for most things, but decides to chime in and give me fake facts. So let us know, Dewey Decimal System. Gilmar's gonna have to work really hard to stabilize this footage. The one thing that we didn't do was add the lights to this cabinet, just because like the customer had already been completely lit up over here. That's funny. We got totally lit up over here by the Hue lighting system. We didn't feel the need to put them in here, although we could have. But one thing we did do while we were there, we did put the wiring in. We wanted to add lights to this, even though it wasn't something we wanted to do. Those are like little things we try and do to protect us from, oh, it would have been cool to do that, and then later the customer ask us to do it or wish they did do it. So it's little things like, oh, what does it take to run a little bit more power? We already have power, the drywall's getting repaired. So if we wanted to, we could add the lights over here, but we do have the Hue lights throughout the rest of the kitchen. Even the light sconces here, you can't really tell them we're not gonna turn them on because it's kind of like staring into the sun for Gilmar. It's not gonna add anything to the video, but trust us, these lights change colors. The rest of the lights in the ceiling all change colors, and the under cabinet, in cabinet, we didn't do toe kick on this kitchen just because toe kick's one of those things that like it really looks great. Toe kick lighting looks amazing, but it's just not necessary. It's usually never necessary. It's just one of those things that's just like really cool. And with the floor we picked, the natural stone, the natural finishes, just lighting everything up seemed very unnatural. But because we did go with the glass on the front of the cabinets, putting whatever is in there on display makes a lot of sense to us. The one thing that we would have probably changed or might do differently in the future, and it's just one of those design things that when you're working with designers and kitchen companies, you know, you don't always pick up on these details. I think I probably would have moved the lights in the cabinetry and figured out a way to have the cabinet guy. I don't know how exactly you would have done this, but you would have created little channels for us to put those lights in. It would have been a lot more complicated to get the wires to those locations and have it all look seamless. The only reason we couldn't do that was because of the reveal and the style door we had. There was nowhere with the hinges and everything to put the lights nicely. Going back to my point with like design, that would have required a lot of work and articulating our goal and possibly building a cabinet to make sure the lighting system we're using in the cabinet all work together. I think it does look amazing, but that is just one thing. Truthfully, I would have done that differently. We also, in the archway, the cabinet with the beautiful arch, it really took us a lot of work, being transparent, to get that to be on the Hue system. Hue doesn't necessarily make a product that fits in those little accent pieces. They do make light bulbs, and you kind of have to find the light fixture to fit your application when you're not doing just recessed lights, just changing light bulbs, or just doing like the under cabinet lighting or toe kick lighting. Like, they have really great systems for that. But when it comes to like specialty accents on this project and on other projects that we've used the Hue system, it's really hard to get those like little extra special details done. We've run into that on like the last basement video that we put up. This project specifically with just that light. We have a project going right now where we have like really cool lighting in a shower, and it was really difficult to figure that out. But we got it done, and just the way we did that was just kind of took the light bulbs that Hue provided and then just kind of went through and just searched the entire world of lighting fixtures until we found the fixture that matched the metal finish that we were going for. We could use the Hue light bulb, and then parring off of that, the lights inside of your kitchen hood, those are usually some sort of like smaller little prong light. Hue makes those products, so like if you wanted to change all the lights in here and you turn the lights on the range or the hood on and those didn't match the rest of your kitchen, you could swap those out. So having all the lights being able to be on the same color spectrum is really important. And when you're using the Hue product, you do want to put a little bit more thought into like, hey, what kind of light bulb does my light take? And then does that light bulb exist in Hue? Because there are light fixtures that use certain special light bulbs that just don't exist, and I'm not sure when they will exist on the Hue side. Food for thought. We still love the product a lot, but it does have limitations. It's pretty simple. So basically you put like a cover over, almost all the time we're using 2-gang boxes. Everything's hardwired together. So all of your leads are running to each one of the fixtures that you're trying to control, and it's always got power. And then each light fixture or light bulb itself has a computer chip in it that allows it to be controlled through Wi-Fi via this remote or a different style remote we have here. And then on top of these remotes in Braille is 1, 2, 3, and 4 that allows you to distinguish between, hey, what's going on here? You know, which button am I actually pushing? And then there's also this little unique little cutout on the back of here that allows you, like if you tried to put this on any other way, it just wouldn't let you do it unless it's oriented the correct way, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4 going clockwise. But when we were talking about the light here, you can kind of see it. This right here is a completely separate gimbal light fixture that turns. And then we took a light bulb and swapped out the light bulb it came with and put a Hue light bulb on there. This light fixture, being that it's like in this curve, had to be like a certain diameter, and then it had to be able to move and then support this light fixture. And all of the light fixtures that are this model are LED and come with a built-in light bulb. So finding one that allowed us to change the light bulb, it all came together. In the old coffee bar area, in the old design of the kitchen, the refrigerator was there as well, but the appliance setup over here was a double oven with the warming drawer, and then this was just kind of like the catch-all of all chaos. This is where you get to see the backsplash. You can change these colors and make it more and less bright, but the curve of the backsplash and then going right down to the countertop, it's really important that when you're picking stone or your stone supplier, the stone yard, you get the opportunity to look at like the graining of the stone and match it together. Nothing's worse than like when this grain's running this way, this one's running that way, and it's like very clearly 2 pieces of stone. One of the goals when you do a full height backsplash like this or like this is to make sure that the stone, the big piece of flat stone that you're picking, is cut out and each piece is pulled out of the stone in a way that makes the graining of the stone accent your space and not destroy it. One of the extra special spots that you have to look for is the edge of the countertop. This is folded over. This is actually a mitered edge to make the countertop look extra thick. You can go thicker than this if you want, or you could continue this all the way down to the floor for like a waterfalled edge. You want to make sure that right here, see how the grain kind of comes out of the corner and wraps down into the edge here. And to believe it or not, like this right here looks like this was just saw cut and then folded over. This is probably the exact edge because you can kind of see it with the graining, but you don't necessarily need to do that. You just have to make sure it makes sense and like how it looks together. Another spot that you can kind of see is like right here, how this grain comes over the top here and then wraps down the front of the stone. And that's done throughout. So when you do this full height backsplash throughout, or the miter folded edge, it's really important that whoever you're using, you look out for that. Yeah, I mean, if you're local, I don't even think if you're local, I think if you're on the East Coast of the United States, let us know and we can connect you with our sales rep at Stone Tech. Our supplier of stone is probably one of the largest importers of stone, at least on the East Coast, if not like, I would think the country. All of the luxury home builders, everybody that knows what they're doing in our world is probably using them, I think. Like they're not, huh? What? What are you saying over there off camera? Someone off camera says they really like Kat Franklin at Stone Tech. She's pretty cool. Sorry, but we're opening cabinets here. You can see in here like the peg cutouts. This is pretty standard in all cabinets. Your cabinet maker is gonna make these so you can adjust the shelves in here. Another place that's really important that I think we've made in other videos is like the pantry shelves that roll out of your cabinets. We like to make those adjustable as well. So no matter where or how tall your cereal box is or what shelf you want to put it on, it can be in there. But if you wanted to take it a step further, shout out trash cans. Always have to be under the sink like that. I just had to tell you. Every cabinet, we specified something special. So you always see everybody likes to put their paper towel dispenser on the front of the cabinet here so they can pull it out and you just have like a roll of paper towels on display in the kitchen you just spent $1 bajillion on. I bet you didn't know that you could hide that behind a drawer face. Steal my ideas, it's fine. They weren't my ideas, but we did come up with them. Done. Didn't mean to do that, but I tried to make it look cool. The bottom isn't open, I'm trying to show you. The bottom isn't open, or isn't closed rather, it's all the way open. The drawer just has like this nice little peg inside here that's designed to slide literally inside of this. You put the paper towel, it's really not a sophisticated design. And that's important because you're gonna use 1 million paper towels in the next 10 to 15 years and you don't want this to break. But you also don't want this on display to your whole kitchen all the time. It really drives me crazy when that particular feature is in kitchens. I know it's a popular thing. I'm totally okay with all of our customers that have done it, but I personally love hiding it. One of the other really cool things that allows us to organize these cabinets are these pegs. We can design your base cabinet or the base of the cabinet to receive these. I don't want to pull them out because they're holding the plates. I'll pull this one out. So there's just like these unique little cabinet finished little handles, you know, throttles, a little handle, like a bike handlebar. And they just slide in these cool little pegs in here. When you close the drawer, your plates don't just like jettison into the back of the drawer and things aren't clanking around and your delicate plates aren't getting broken. Another thing that's really cool for people that actually cook. This is not something cool for people that don't cook, but if you actually use your KitchenAid mixer, look at that. Bam, done. We can put an outlet in the back of your cabinet so this never has to come unplugged. It has this cool little shelf here specifically designed to hold the mixer. And these little details, they don't cost much money. I mean, they do, if you do a whole kitchen full of details, they do add up. But if you're going to spend this much money designing a custom kitchen that's supposed to reflect like exactly how you live your life. Like I know I want my paper towels here, I want my trash can here, I want my mixer here so I can turn from the sink, I can turn from the mixer to the trash can, my plates, everything is exactly how I want them, especially if you are getting up in years and if you're one of those people where your kids are leaving for college now or are in college, like you want to start thinking about aging in place. I know nobody wants to talk about it, but doing these little details now where maybe you bring heavier items that were once on the top shelf and you're renovating your kitchen, bring them down to the bottom shelf and make them more accessible. So when you're 70 years old and arthritic, you can reach your mixer and still do what you love. It's really sturdy. It's on a spring. It's gonna hold everything. It has these cool little latches on the front here. And even if you kind of jiggle them or do anything, like this thing's not going anywhere, so you really don't have to worry about the safety. And then the mixer's so heavy itself that like if you're able to like knock this off, I think you got other kind of problems. But if you just pull out these two little prongs and it slow closes down. Like you don't need any strength to do this. It does take up a whole cabinet. So if you're ready to have like a dedicated cabinet for your mixer, this is for you. But if, you know, maybe you're limited on counter space, that might not be a great idea. And then the rest of the kitchen is extremely organized, nothing really else to get into that's not out of ordinary. Drawers, pots and pans. We do have, of course, the spice rack is another really popular one. You can organize this in a variety of different ways. You can do spices, you can have this for utensils. There's a bunch of different really cool things you can do to organize your drawers further. So once you start thinking about like, you know, I'm gonna paint my island rosemary and I'm gonna go with white oak cabinets, then we ask you, what are you gonna put in your drawers? One of the things that we prefer in design at Revival are drawers. We don't really like to do cabinet doors. We do have a cabinet door over here for the KitchenAid mixer, but there's not a whole lot of places except for maybe in the kitchen corner. This is the only really spot you should have doors, in my opinion, on the lower side of the kitchen or beneath the countertop. All of this stuff should be drawers. It allows you to be more organized. If you were to make this cabinet, say this was even 2 doors or that one was doors over there, like you open the door and then you gotta like squat down and everybody's got a bad back and now you're aged. This allows you, I'm just painting such a miserable picture. You're getting old, buy a custom kitchen. I said it.
Keep going.
The drawers. These allow you to divide things, organize things nicer. We do a lot of kitchens. Every house we work on almost gets a kitchen. So we get a lot of it, like a lot of opportunity to like see how people organize things really well and then impart those wisdoms on you. And one of the things we've discovered is drawers. The only other place that I can think, Gilmar, is underneath the kitchen sink. We also do drawers, but because of how the drawers are set up, we do doors. So sometimes we have doors that hide drawers, but we always have drawers.
Those like those tongue twisters.
Yeah, dude.
I feel like you should put like a cat in the hat, like hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes we have doors that hide drawers. One of the places that's like really, really miserable to organize is under the sink. Under the sink. So what we do is we figure out what sink we're using. We make sure that sink is going to fit in the cabinet. Made that mistake before. The sink, faucet, how is the plumbing going to look? Where does the plumbing come out of the wall? Does it come out of the floor? Where do our supply lines come? Do we need electricity under our sink for our dishwasher or garbage disposal? How big is the garbage disposal? Where is that going to sit in the relation of the sink? So like going back to the point around the sink, this is a center drain, rear drain. If this drain were to be over here and the whole sink was pitched, a much larger sink, you might have 2 drains. You gotta then go underneath your sink and be like, what is that all gonna look like? We go that far before we even start construction, and that allows us to say, hey, we can get a drawer. It's always like we call it a horseshoe, and it has this unique cutout right here that allows for all the plumbing to exist, and then this beautiful drawer to slide in unimpeded. Going back to the adjustability, any cabinet that gets drawers like this always gets these adjustable peg systems. So we can put this cabinet in first or put the bottom drawer in first, ask the customer like, hey, like how tall are the items that are gonna go on that bottom shelf? Sometimes you do know, sometimes you don't know. And the adjustability on the side allows us, hey, we're gonna put all these spray bottles on the bottom here, backup paper towels, of course. And then the second shelf gets put in to allow for all this stuff to move in. And like, there's probably a ton of people watching this right now, myself included, that underneath the sink in your kitchen is a nightmare. And you've got like trash bags stockpiled on top of cleaners, and you got to pull everything out to get one thing. This gets rid of that whole problem. It's a big problem. We're saving lives. Huge shout out to Ariel for doing all this. Pots over here, pans over here. Pots, pans, kitchen, organization. I don't know that I need to explain any more than that, but this is awesome. These pieces of wood right here, we also have the same peg system going throughout here. So there's pegs, you can't see them because the shelves are in, that go on the bottom and the top. And then these actually have these little shelves or dividers here, have little channels in them. I'm just gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. It's really tight. Cut that. Cut. This one might come out a little bit nicer. I'm just gonna show you this. I'm just gonna show everybody. So these have like this nice little groove in here. And we have these cool little shelf pegs right here. And this allows us to adjust, like depending on how many pans you have, you can adjust all that and then slide your shelf in and then, you're never not organized ever again. A little bit of thought and a little bit of storage allows you just like never have to do that again. Not everybody has a wall oven, but if you have a wall oven, you know what it's like to pull the wall oven door open, and then you gotta like kind of protect it like a football player so nobody runs into this hot door that's open in the middle of their kitchen. And then, you know, say you're 5'1" and you have to now reach into this oven. Like, you don't have that problem if you just put the door in. The one thing that would have been my preference on this kitchen that the customer decided against was to switch this door to open the other way. I personally think that it should have opened this way into the kitchen, but the pantry and how the kitchen's being used, it's not my kitchen. The oven door is the move. Here, I'll show you over here. Just so you actually understand what I'm talking about, in case you don't, English might be your second language. It's YouTube. This is what I'm talking about. So imagine this like in a wall oven. This is, you know, kind of what we have here on the range. I couldn't imagine this being a door because it would swing so large. I'm sure they make it, but that's just for an example. A little bit of the benefit of the door, you can get in there a little bit easier. So, you know, if you're going back to the age in place conversation, buying appliances that allow you to use them a little bit easier, or maybe putting the appliance at a height that allows you to use it forever is a great thing to think about. I do particularly love this, like this oven in particular, no complaints. Like everybody loves this model. So we do have natural gas in this house, specifically propane. When the gas comes out of the range, if it is propane or natural gas, it comes out differently. And how it comes out will affect how the burner actually works. If you have a range that is set up for propane and you have natural gas, you're gonna have a bad time. And the opposite's the same. Like, you literally will turn the range on and the burners will work, but you'll look at them and be like, what am I supposed to cook with that? When you buy your range, and this is something that, like, when you work with a builder like us, we have design team, we have a purchasing team, like everybody is worried about the details for you. These are little things that we capture. Does your home have propane? Does your home have natural gas? We purchase the appliances. We tell the appliance broker that we use, we have propane or we have natural gas. And then wherever this unit stands in the world, it might come with a propane or natural gas conversion kit. If this shows up and you didn't tell anybody that, this might not show up ready to be used, and then you gotta wait for the kit to come in. Usually it's pretty quick, but that's just adds steps. So when you're considering doing all new appliances in your house and you go and you talk to your appliance supplier, natural gas, propane, electricity, like what is your fuel source? Could be a big problem, but it's really a small problem if you deal with it ahead of time. It's not even a problem at all, it's just part of the process. I'm not gonna pull this off the wall right now. I could if I wanted to. There was a TV in here. I feel a particular way about TVs in kitchens. I feel a particular way about TVs being in a lot of rooms of the house that they don't need to be in. But we now live in 2025 and we have this really cool option that we have been using in our houses where people want TVs in spaces that, like, hey, it's really not gonna look that great, but if you let us spend the money and get a frame TV and do a little bit of the legwork behind the TV, you can have this cool piece of artwork on your wall most of the time and then have a television on there when you want it. And this makes me happy because the kitchen we just designed for you that is gorgeous stays gorgeous. The TV unit comes with a variety of options, and like these frames, like literally like the picture frame that you're seeing me touch right here is just aluminum clicked onto the TV itself. So like the finish, you can get gold, you can get wood grain, you can make it yourself. In the past, we've gone to frame stores and given them the specifications on our TV and had this frame custom made so that it matched like the other artwork in the house if you need to go that far. Anytime we add one of these TVs in a design improvement, AKA change order, it causes a lot of extra work. And the reason for that is behind this television is a box in the wall that we have to cut into your wall and put in there. So if there are studs in the way, if anything else is behind the wall, in this particular instance, we have an adjacent wall behind us. So we have another wall behind this wall that's going that way. So we have a bunch of wood all stacked up in here, you know, where that wall is nailed into this wall. We can't just cut all that stuff out, and there's so much wood back there, cutting it out would take forever. But fortunately in this instance, we were blessed with this nice little channel and everything worked out. But you gotta make sure that that spot that you're gonna put the box in behind the TV fit nicely in between the studs. It's designed to go in between two stud bays. If we are putting this in your home and we are building the room or the home from scratch, we literally look at where the studs are in the framing process, and we make sure the framer is adjusting the studs to be like, hey, in this wall there is going to be a frame TV, we need to have that stuff. But sometimes you're going backwards, you're coming into a framing condition, you gotta figure it out yourself. But highly encourage the frame TV. It's amazing. It just makes your home less technological. Everybody's got iPads and screens, and we're all spending so much time looking at screens. Like, do we really need a TV in the kitchen? And the answer is yes, but it looks a lot better when it's a frame one. And I'm not gonna be critical of that. Like, I don't currently have a TV in my kitchen, but I have in the past had a TV close to the kitchen. Might have watched it while we were eating. But we don't do that anymore because that's not what we do. How did this kitchen come out so pretty? That's what everybody wants to know, is how do I work with a designer? How do I work with a builder to get a result like this? I am biased in saying that I believe starting with the builder or contractor or whoever is going to be putting all of the players together is the relationship you want to start with. If that person is the architect, great. If it is the interior designer, that's great. But if you're going to tackle a project like this, you want to hire someone that's going to put all of the players in the room, solve all of the problems before they happen, and if problems or challenges happen during the project, they have the resources, the experience, and the technical know-how to solve problems in real time, quickly allowing the project to stay on course, schedule-wise, financially. Things are going to come up in a process like this. And the goal with design or using an interior designer is to explore all of your options, but more importantly, explore what the options for problems or challenges are. And that's why we like to take control of the design process. We do work with a lot of designers and a lot of architects, and we have great relationships with these people. And we strongly encourage all of our customers to allow us to put a team like that together. It makes everyone's lives more enjoyable, allows the project to run a certain way. With that being said, not every customer wants to work with an interior designer or an expansive design team, right? All of those things are really cool, but really not necessary if you work with a designer or a design builder, or even just a builder that has design capabilities. The talking point is everybody wants to claim to be a design build construction company, or we're a design build firm. And that means so many different things nowadays that it almost means nothing at all. And to me, what a true design build firm is, goes back to like my time in architecture school. Design build meant an architect builder as one company that could design a building and then manage the process. When you're talking about residential construction like this, design build is a completely different thing. It just means somebody has a designer on their team, or they know a designer that they work with, and they design before they build. Design build literally is how you should build. It should just be called building. Every building, every project has different problems, different challenges, different goals. And that's where the design process comes in. Some customers have a really, really good sense of style without somebody else coming in and telling them, hey, you should do this. Like, some customers have the ability because they've done it a bunch of times before. Some customers have, design adjacent businesses or careers that allow them to, they design dresses. So being able to design a kitchen is kind of similar. They can visually see everything, and the thought of using someone to tell them how to think about their kitchen when they already see it so clearly, it's just not always the best way for us to steward a project. So what we'll do in that instance, when a customer is very sure of what they want, or maybe really sure of what they don't want and needs a little bit more support from us and not quite the support of a designer, we'll step in, we'll take the customer to different suppliers. we'll provide them with the samples and we'll kind of be the adopted designer for a project like that. We do have those people on our team and they're great, but again, to my point, they're not always necessary. And sometimes you don't want to bring a knife to a gunfight and vice versa. So that's what happened on this project. Is we made some introductions early on in the project throughout design. The customer just didn't really see the benefit. And after talking through it with them, we figured, you know, they understood enough of what they wanted the kitchen to look like and had given us enough resources and gave us the time to figure that all out for them. And I think it came out pretty good. We're here in the basement, utility spaces. Look how clean this is down here, right? Then I'm gonna take credit for it. Anyway, what you're looking at here is the plumbing and one of the HVAC systems for the house. So we have the water manifold up on the wall here, which in previous videos in new construction homes, when we build them from scratch, I really like doing the water manifold because it's like a circuit breaker. It's like the electrical panel for your house, but for water. We have other videos where we talk about this so much, hundreds of thousands of views, huge. Anyway, this is what we got going on here. And all of the pipes cleanly running across the ceiling here. But some pipes are blue, some pipes are red, some pipes are clear. The clear pipes are our hydronic system. We have water floor heat or radiant floor heat. So in some older homes, you have that big metal fixture on the wall that's the radiator, and they're like, don't touch the radiator, it's hot. This is the same thing, but what we have here, instead of radiators in each room, we have the actual floor itself is a radiator. Basically, when the subfloor goes in on the house, these pipes get stapled to the ground. It's stapled. They're like these special plugs that hold the pipes to the ground. You put it in a grid, and then you pour Dripcrete or a concrete type product, and it covers all of the tubes inside of the concrete, and then you put whatever your floor surface is down over top of that. So you have subfloor, piping running through the subfloor, concrete-like material holding all the pipes and insulating the pipes, and then that radiates the heat through your floor. And in this specific house, we have all of the floor heats, fortunately, zoned to whatever room or area. They're all labeled on here, and you can shut the valves off. And then these valves are thermostats. These go to each room where you say, hey, I want this room to be 80 degrees. You set your floor heat to 80 or the room to 80. When the thermostat says 70, it opens this valve up, sends fresh hot water, scorching hot water to the pipes in the ground, thus radiates heat into the room. This is the best way to heat a space. But you have to have a very intense system like this. This over here looks like a hot water heater. It technically is a hot water tank, but this is standby hot water. This whole system right here is heating using the propane or maybe natural gas in your situation, is heating all of the water going through this system and then storing the hot water in this tank right here. And all of that hot water is then distributed through the thermostat system. And then when you go to like work on a specific room, you got to come here and remember to shut the thermostat down and like let the pressure out of the system. So like, God forbid, if you hit one of those lines while you're working on a house, all of this water, like you really got to come down here right away and shut this down, or water will just dump it out everywhere. Sometimes when that stuff happens, it's like a little pinprick of a leak and you don't realize it until much later, and that's another set of circumstances. But when you're working on a floor system or a radiant heat system, whether it's in the floor or in the walls, you have to be conscious of all of this. Fortunately for us, because we had everything already set up very nicely from the home being built previously, we were able to shut everything down and then work on the floor system, change what we needed to change, and then put the new floor in over top of it. Sometimes when we remodel houses, a lot of times we're doing so much of the house that we can change like a good bit of the house. But when we're doing just a kitchen, how the utilities are laid out, like the water manifold, heat manifold, electrical panel over there, everything's like very clearly labeled. It allows our job to go smoother and allows us to put the job together easier, because there's no like, hey, where's this go? Everything is right here. I can shut down any faucet or toilet or any specific thing in the house. I can literally just shut it down and work on it. So say you're building a home or you're gonna renovate a lot of your home, you want to put the thought ahead of time into how all of these systems are going to look and operate behind the scenes. And when you hire a builder or a design build architecture firm, a lot of those companies are gonna look out for you in this regard. You might wanna speak up and be like, hey, like, what are you guys doing for that? Do you have a plan? And then let them plan it. You really don't wanna get involved in all of this, but this does take a lot of thought. And then that thought does benefit you down the road. It's easier to work on. It's easier for other people to come into your house to work on your house after you're done building. We maintain a lot of our customers' homes after we're done building them. But if, say, you're capable of doing it yourself, like when we come in and organize everything like this, it allows you to live and grow in your home without having to call us every time you're looking for something. These are little things that are like really important to us that like I like to show. This is a nerdy part where we're gonna lose everyone in the video because we're showing them pipes, but it's this detail that just like gets me excited. So totally forgot the cabinet that started the little drawers upstairs. This is like, you can see how this is off-centered. Like this cabinet was so specifically designed to like hold all these little drawers, and we kept it because it was such a large part of like the design, like the whole reasoning behind the whole coffee bar came from like this cabinet that we were like, can't throw it out. So the customer's just gonna have it sit here in the basement. This is what it came from. This is the inspiration.